Hey YouTube, this is Gary with Liberty Road Defense and Pistol Training. The other day we did a video, my wife and I did a video about learning to shoot and stuff like that. It's pretty good. I liked it. In a follow up on that video, I want to talk about some considerations you should have when selecting your first gun. Okay. First thing I want to talk about is caliber. And there's debate. You can get on the internet and everybody's got their opinion on caliber. Okay. Well, here's my opinion on caliber. As you go down in caliber, for example, you go to 9mm, and truthfully 9mm is probably the smallest caliber that is really suitable for personal defense. Okay. Will a 22 and a 32 and those other smaller calibers and a 25, will they do it? Yes, they will. But the problem with caliber is the smaller you go, the more critical shot placement is. Okay? So with a large caliber gun, you can do a lot of damage. With a small caliber gun, you don't do as much damage, so where you put the shot is critical to do enough damage to stop the threat. Okay, and we're always listening when we're talking about this. We are not talking about shoot to kill. We're talking about shoot to live. So you should stop the threat, and if it kills the guy, then he brought it on himself. But if it doesn't, then as long as the threat's stopped and as long as your life or the people around you's life is no longer in danger, then you stop shooting. Okay. But like I said, caliber, smaller calibers, shot placement becomes more critical. And in my opinion, 9mm is probably as small as you want to go. And vice versa, as you go up in caliber, shot placement becomes less critical because the bullet itself does more damage. Now when you're talking about 9mm, 40 caliber, and 45 with modern ammunition, you're probably looking at the same type of ballistics and the same type of damage from each of those. So any of those three is a good choice. 9mm, if you're small, recoil is easy to handle, and so I guess the next concern we want to talk about is effectively managing the recoil. If you're a small person, a small caliber is easier. Well, for anybody, a smaller caliber is easier to manage than a larger caliber. But if you're a small person, a larger caliber may be too difficult to manage. Now keep in mind, shooting is a fine motor skill. Marksmanship, the marksmanship aspect of shooting is a fine motor skill. And when you're face to face with someone who's trying to kill you, all bets are off. Okay? The first thing that goes out the window is those fine motor skills. And you'd be lucky to get it out, get your finger on the trigger, and squeeze hard enough to fire the shot. So keep that in mind as well. A lot of practice and a lot of training goes into being able to defend yourself with a handgun. So don't overlook that thing. When we're talking about effectively managing your recoil, I want to point out something else. I talked about it in the other video. Children, small children, and first-time shooters, specifically first-time shooters and small children, should never, ever be handed anything bigger than a 22 to fire their first shot with. If you start with the 22 and work your way up, the recoil on the 22 is so manageable that the shooter can concentrate on the four aspects of a good shot rather than not hitting themselves in the head with the gun. Okay, so keep those things in mind. Another aspect of caliber that we need to talk about is the cost of ammunition. Okay, 9mm, pretty cheap ammunition, so it's inexpensive to practice with. And if you're not practicing, you're not gaining proficiency. 40 and 45 tend to be a little more expensive. Now there was a time when 9mm was really expensive back in the in the first part of Obama's first term, when everybody flipped out and went and bought all the 40 caliber, and all of the ammunition dealers flipped out and started charging 2 and 3 times what They had been charging, you know, manufactured crisis, in my opinion. Okay, so consider cost of ammunition. All right, now the next set of things we want to talk about is physical size. A bigger gun is easier to shoot because it has more mass, so there's less recoil, but it makes it harder to conceal. Okay, a smaller gun, physically smaller, is easier to conceal, but it's harder to shoot, and specifically it's harder to manage the recoil on it. Okay, so keep those things in mind. You're doing a balance here between easy to conceal and easy to shoot. Big hands have trouble manipulating small guns. So if you've got big old 8-painter claws on the end of your forearms, you may have trouble with that subcompact gun, okay? Truthfully, if you've got hands that big, you're probably big enough to carry a full-size gun. Small hands have trouble manipulating big guns, okay? If you can't get your hand around the grip comfortably, maybe you ought to look at getting a different gun that has a smaller grip, okay? And you, like I said, it's a balancing act. And all of this stuff that needs to be considered. Everything's a trade-off. You're trading one thing for another thing. And you have to determine what's best for you, okay? Comfort while carrying and while shooting, okay? If that gun doesn't fit comfortably in your hand, it doesn't seem to point naturally at the target, and it's uncomfortable whatever method you use to conceal, then maybe you ought to choose a different gun, okay? There's such a wide variety of handguns out there. There's really no excuse to be carrying a gun that you're not comfortable with. Okay, so what else do we need to talk about? Oh, I know one other thing. Before you buy a gun, go shoot some. You know, most firing ranges have guns that are available for rental. The firing range I use, Shoot Smart, out on 35 and just the other side of Fort Worth. Their deal is you go in and pay the rental fee for the gun, and you go shoot a gun, and you bring it back, and you can shoot anything. You can shoot every gun in their case for that one rental fee. So look for something like that, where you can go out there and physically shoot and find the gun that's comfortable for you, the gun that is right for you. Find your gun. Okay, for Liberty Road Defensive Pistol Training, that's all I got. If you like this video and you found it helpful, please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and remember, your personal defense is your responsibility. You can choose to be a victim, or you can choose to be your own first responder. It's your choice.